Hello, Bitcoin and crypto traders. Hope you had a good new year. Certainly a very eventful weekend in the cryptocurrency space. And it ended with a nice fresh reminder of how quickly momentum can shift in the space. Some significant dips out there, some significant bounces, some altcoin, not an altcoin season, an altcoin weekend. Let's check it all out. So first things first, as always, we are checking in on the dollar. This is a 4-hour falling wedge that I'm keeping an eye out for this week. Again, we keep seeing little bear breaks with a lack of follow through, and eventually, in my opinion, one of these bounces is going to see follow through. The S&P 500 today pulled back significantly, and on the 5-minute time frame, it was tick for tick inverse to the dollar. The good news for metals and crypto bulls is that was not the case. They were not hurt as the S&P 500 was with the dollar bounce today. So again, a bear break this morning, significant bounce, and the question is, can we change 4-hour trends? Can we break the downtrend resistance? Can we see bull follow through? Again, always something to be keeping an eye on for the rest of forever if you are trading in markets. Bitcoin. So a new all-time high, significant push up to 34,800, and then significant pullback for a daily higher low attempt. Daily EMA 12 is continuing to hold. I'll go over my personal trades at the end of this video. We're just going to go into standard old technical analysis from here. And we had a dump. We had first hourly oversold conditions. That being said, we got there fairly early in the low 30,000 range. And then we dropped another 6 to 8%. And the hourly RSI got real crushed. Significant bounce from that low to that high. In a 4 or 5 hour period, 16%. We currently have an hourly equilibrium. If the hourly equilibrium breaks bullish, let's go over these levels real quick. So low, high of the bounce, higher low support is 30,600, lower high resistance is 31,880. It's getting tight. With a bear break, we zoom out, and we scout a 4-hour higher low compared to the low of the dump, 27,678. With a bull break, we zoom out and we look for a 4-hour lower high compared to the all-time high, 34,800. You can see we essentially went sideways into a bear break. Now we're sideways again. And again, we'll be watching for a 4-hour lower high or a higher low because of the size of the range. We are $3,800 from the all-time high, and we are $3,400 from the low of the dump. We're right in the middle of the range, just watching to see the direction in the short term as we watch for this hourly equilibrium to give us short-term direction. The dominance chart has significantly pulled back. Altcoins are loving this 2-day period, and they really flexed and saw a bunch of strength real quickly. What were the signs that it was time to be looking at altcoins? When did the pullback start in the dominance chart? 2 o'clock, I guess that is 2 a.m. on January 3rd. What was Bitcoin doing at 2 a.m. on January 3rd? It was hitting the all-time high and then trading sideways. Look at this sideways range for 6 hours, 7 hours. Altcoin bulls love when Bitcoin holds its gains and trades sideways. So 6 hours of sideways started the move. Then we traded sideways some more. This was an hourly equilibrium that took 12 hours to take place. So 6 hours sideways, 12 hours sideways, and that allowed for the altcoin bulls to shine. One thing that was notable after the altcoin bulls had made a significant move, and I'm looking at this dominance chart, and I'm saying, okay, hourly RSI oversold, and I scroll back and I look and say, what has the hourly RSI done from oversold conditions in the last month? I look back and say, okay, every single time we've hit oversold, we have bounced pretty significantly from those levels over the last month. So as soon as I saw an hourly bear flag result here, I said this time is different. This time the altcoins are shaping up to have some follow through. And again, it's because we didn't V-shape and have that RSI hitting oversold mark the low. It was a weak bounce to cool it off and then a lower low. Another factor, if you've been watching the dominance and how it relates to Bitcoin, you know that the Bitcoin dominance bulls surge when we're in all-time highs. That's when we see the correlation the strongest with dominance going up and Bitcoin USD going up. After we saw the significant bull move in our altcoins in ETH, LTC, and other names, we were down here. We know we're watching for a dominance bounce. We're not just going to fall off a cliff forever. The 4-hour chart was just a waterfall into oversold conditions. At that point in time, Bitcoin was a good bit off of its all-time high. So we hit a low at 1 a.m. January 4th. And at that point in time, 1 a.m. January 4th, Bitcoin was at $33,000 and $1,800 off of its high. So we are either going to see Bitcoin make a new all-time high to lead to a dominance oversold bounce. What's the only other way that the dominance chart can bounce if it's not led by Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high and seeing capital flowing into that Bitcoin all-time high? If Bitcoin's trading sideways, the dominance chart's not going to go up. That would just be like the Ethereum and Litecoin and other altcoin bulls that had a huge surge higher, just all of a sudden losing their momentum. That doesn't happen. So the only other way that the dominance chart can bounce is by Bitcoin dropping and altcoins dropping faster, which is what happened here at January 4th, 1 a.m. this morning into 4 a.m. this morning. This is when the crypto market was dumping and the altcoins were dumping harder. So this was just a thought and an observation. And I went to bed last night thinking that same exact thing. We're not going to see Bitcoin all-time highs. It's unlikely to just go right back to all-time highs from here. How is the dominance chart going to bounce in this scenario? And the only scenario was a Bitcoin pullback. And this, I didn't act on that, but I definitely am making mental observation because that was a nice clue in hindsight. And it popped into my brain as a clue, observed it, and now I will apply that into the future. So for here on the dominance chart, any bounce that we see, we're just looking for a 4-hour lower high. Hasn't even gotten any momentum. And then from there, we'll just look for a daily lower high. But a clear shift in momentum on this dominance chart with this drop over the last 2 days. So ETH USD bulls, loving it. Daily bull flag, and then just turning on the juice and going from essentially $800 to $1,169 in a very quick amount of time. Essentially, a 50% bull move in 2 days, which ETH bulls were waiting for, and they deserved it. Hourly equilibrium here as well, same as Bitcoin. Support is 983. Resistance is 1048 and 1060. So just clearly tightening lower highs, higher lows, waiting for the break, same as Bitcoin. And same thing, if we break bullish, we zoom out and we scout a 4-hour lower high compared to 11,169. If it's a bear break, we're looking for a higher low compared to 886. Very wide range. Traded ETH, I'll go into that at the end of the video as well. ETH BTC, look at this hold of support and change of the daily trend and surge higher. So we know that these bull moves have seen a lack of follow through. No confirmed daily trend change. No confirmed daily trend change. Confirmed daily trend change. Is that our monthly higher low being set on ETH BTC? Certainly looks like it. Can the bulls break 406? That's the question from here, which would keep a monthly uptrend going. And you could make an argument it's a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders pattern here, but it's all about 406. And if ETH wants all-time highs, which are certainly in play, then that's going to have to see a bull break. So the daily uptrend will be on watch now. We're looking for a 4-hour higher low on any pullback. And actually we have one at 2987, a little support level, but just sideways while the US dollar pairings are trading sideways in those hourly equilibriums. Litecoin, same thing with a bull move up. Not nearly as impressive, but definitely solid gains where we went essentially from the 120s up to the 170s. So not a 50% move, but in the 40s. Daily uptrend still intact. Hourly time frame, equilibrium. A little bit weaker than the other names. 146 and 140 are support. 158.30 and 154.48 are resistances. Same thing with a bull break. We look for 4-hour lower high and tightening 4-hour range. With a bear break, can the bulls hold the low of 140 psychological? And keep the daily EMA 12s. Look at them grind as support. The last 2 periods of consolidation, bulls want to keep holding those. ETH, same thing on the daily chart. EMA 12 held, and that's going to be a bit of a visual guide as we watch our uptrend. LTC BTC, rejection from resistance. We now have a very clear range to be watching here. A triple bottom down at this low with 3 touches, and now a double top of resistance, essentially. So it's a potential equilibrium. If we pull back further, we'll scout a daily high or low, and we're going to have to be watching how this range breaks, because we have been trading within this range now for 6 or 7 weeks. So that is the range to be watching if you are a Litecoin trader. Binance hit an all-time high. I'm still keeping a very close eye on Binance because all we need is a shift, a fast, hard shift on this Bitcoin pairing for the bulls to surge higher with no resistance, similar to ETH and LTC. We're seeing bounces, lower highs and lower lows, though, with a lack of follow-through. Anything under 15 here, 0.0015, is just a lower high. We'll see if the bulls can shape up an inverse head and shoulders. But again, this is just one to keep on watch because of how well the US dollar pairing is positioned if we get any kind of momentum shift from this significant stranglehold that the bears have on the Bitcoin pairing over the last few months. This is just one to keep your eye on because the bulls are positioned well. Theta USD, so coming off the all-time high, daily uptrend still intact. Hourly time frame, how does it shape up compared to our other names? It is a bit weaker. So high, low of the dump, lower high. Trying to set the higher low. There's a wider range. We're not as tight. So we could get clues there because it's looking like Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to break their hourly equilibrium before Theta does. And these Theta bulls definitely want to set a higher low and try and make their way back up towards $2 to see this range to continue tightening, because otherwise we're heading right back to our low, and we already are. We're looking for a 4-hour higher low compared to 166. The most notable factor is that the Bitcoin pairing is still correlated with the US dollar pairing, which the altcoin bulls want to see maintained. Doggo. Daily higher lows are intact, and bulls looking to keep that the case. As long as the daily EMA 12 holds, Theta bulls certainly stay very strong. We've pulled back significantly from the all-time high. We're going to be watching for tightening 4-hour ranges in the short term. So the trades that I took, let's check in on Bitcoin, still tight. Trades that I took. First, let's go with ETH. ETH, I missed the start of this move. And I probably, when did I start preparing for an entry that was certainly late? It was after we had already run up to 978. So at that point in time, this daily candle was already up at almost its high. Now I can look at that and pout and say, oh, I missed the move, and count all the imaginary money I could have made. Or I just say, okay, I missed that move. What am I looking for from here? What's my game plan? Back burner, first 5-minute oversold conditions. Absolutely. I'll buy that first 5-minute oversold bounce on ETH. I'll look for it to be an hourly higher low. And at that point in time, we had Bitcoin looking for a 4-hour higher low as well. So I like the setup to be scouting an hourly higher low on ETH marked by first 5-minute oversold conditions, while Bitcoin was looking for a 4-hour higher low at the same point in time. So here's this 5-minute candle. The RSI got right down to oversold. I got one fill. I had other orders waiting in the 880s and 870s. I got one fill at 896. All right, good enough for me. And then just set my stop under the low because, again, my game plan was ideally making an entry for an hourly higher low and looking for a break of 1,000 psychological. Everybody had their eyes set on that level. We changed the 5-minute trend. I then got real comfortable in my position. From there, I saw the move up towards 1,000. I saw a rejection, and I saw bulls defending support. I said, all right, I'm going to add to my winner, looking for a break of 1,000, and I wanted significant follow-through. Just like Bitcoin breaking 20,000 and 30,000 psychological levels, we got hard, fast follow-through. I wanted that on ETH, and I didn't get it. But I added, let's say I have one position at 896. I added 3 more positions in the 970s here on this pullback. And we pulled back to 970 and down to 982, filled a couple of the positions here. And as soon as we broke 1,000 here with no follow-through, red flag number 1. We then got a little bit of follow through and pulled back. As soon as we got red flag number 1, I started to exit a little bit because I went from aggressive by adding at 970s and then turning the dial back to, okay, more conservative, because if I was going to be comfortable, we needed multiple percent of follow through over 1,000. So I started selling what I bought in the 970s in the 990s to, again, just take some risk off because I went too aggressive and I didn't get the ideal bull break follow through that I wanted. We then got bull break. At that point, I was down to my 1 position again and then pulled back. Pretty notable from there. So I was comfortable, profitable, and I went to sleep. And I woke up pleasantly surprised and didn't set any alarms or anything. Last night was the first time I woke up at 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And it reminded me of 2017 because I have not been doing that in this run. But these kind of volatility moves, I'll definitely start doing it again if you're going to give me 20% up, 20% down real quick. So I exited at 1090. I said, okay, that's a significant move. That's a week maker of profit in half a day. I'm locking it in. We're extremely overextended. I know how extremely overextended moves end. They end fast and hard. So that was my trade, exited, and that was that. I did make one more attempt here, actually. I was still up at this point in time when the consolidation started. I made an entry, 5-minute oversold. I sold half because I was not comfortable with where the 4-hour chart was as far as how extended it was and seeing a volume climax candle shaping up on the 4-hour. So I sold half into a little bounce, and then I put my stop under here, pretty much break even, and I stopped out break even. So then no more ETH position. Then I woke up at 5. Again, no alarms, just really good timing on the wake up. Body clock in sync. And I started buying this dump on Bitcoin. Started scaling it a little bit too early. In hindsight, if I could change anything, we did hit first hourly oversold once 31,000 broke. But I entered, my position scaling in was a bit too large to start off. I would, in hindsight, rather than doing X amount per order, I would have done 66% that. So I entered at 30,800, 29,800, and 29,000. And I wanted one more on the 28,000 break. And I had used up the rest of my cash on the ETH dump buying that dip. And so again, in hindsight, if I had used a little bit smaller orders, I would have had one more down at 28. And that would have made me very comfortable for a big win. Because I didn't get that last fill, I wasn't as comfortable. My break even was in the 29,000s. So just to get back to my break even, we've already bounced over 5%. So again, I scale out into this bounce to remain protective and cautious. I get to a point where I'm comfortable enough in a position where I'll let the hourly play out from there. And then I ended up selling in the mid 31,000s, exited everything all on the bounce. At this point, I have my no-touch BTC. I have my core swing Bitcoin that I'm comfortable holding through daily consolidation. And I have lots of cash for short-term trades and opportunities, just like we saw early this morning. So in the end, it was a nice little win, but nothing notable. You know, just any normal stock trading day kind of win because that order did not fill and I was less comfortable just setting a stop and letting the trade ride out because, again, just to bounce to break even, it's already a 5% move. So now we're watching this hourly equilibrium. I played the ETH bounce as well. A little bit early there, but we had a nice bounce. I was filled at 955. And I was going to enter one more, but again, just Bitcoin is what I chose as far as more significant capital, just more comfortable trading Bitcoin a lot more over the last couple months. But entered at 955, let the bounce play out, exited just over 1,000. And that was a nice little win as well. Another little day maker and a half. So what that did, what those two bounces did, again, no home runs, but the gains that I had on those 2 day trades, they have my account at all-time highs from when Bitcoin was trading in the 33 to 34,000 range, while Bitcoin is in the mid 31,000s. So I held some core swing position that pulled back, you know, from the all-time high. We're down 10% from that all-time high, but at this moment, my account is, you know, give or take a small amount, but right at that all-time high. That's the way that I like to trade. I do not like seeing big steps back in my net worth. Definitely people that are more all-in mindset and more aggressive see bigger gains on the way up, but they also see big drops in that net worth. I'm more of the stair step kind where every time I take a step forward, I do not want to take a step back. And I would rather leave gains on the table to avoid that step back. So by taking these day trades, I avoided that step back. If Bitcoin goes back to the all-time high, my account is going to be significantly higher than it was last time we were at the all-time high. And so again, that's my strategy, keeping capital for short-term trades to continually offset pullbacks in my core swing position that I am knowingly holding through daily consolidation. So that is where we stand from here. Sideways on the 4-hour, break is imminent, volume spike is imminent, just looking for a higher low or a lower high and anticipating tightening 4-hour ranges into tomorrow. Temporary tops are in. And maybe that just means for 3 days, maybe it means for 3 weeks, who knows, but as of right now, very impressive dip buying, and it's one of those moves where we get a hard flash dump, we take out a bunch of the stop levels, and then once the bottom is hit, we don't revisit it, which again is ideal for the bulls. So there's no major red flags at this point. All it was a wake-up call. Hey, don't get overly bullish. You know, looking on Twitter and seeing people with Ethereum over 1,000 saying this run is just getting started, and just, no, it's not. It's been going for 6 months. It can keep going, but it's not just getting started. And I don't like that because it just suckers in people to buy the top who don't know any better. But bulls keeping control, daily uptrends intact, and that is what we care about most from here. Can the daily higher lows be maintained? What's the dollar going to do in the short term? Is it going to break this falling wedge bullish? But overall, keeping control. Gold and silver bulls had a great start to the new year today, and it's fun. Be protective. Don't go too heavy on margin. Lock in some capital. Lock in some gains if you are experiencing life-changing money. The best decision that I have ever made in my trading career was selling into the 2017 strength and then using that capital for other things like blue sky breakout Canadian marijuana stocks. But we will top. We will pull back significantly. There's no sign that our top is set just yet. But again, prepare for it. Have your game plans all established. If you want to hold through 30 to 50% pullback that we will see at some point, someday, that's perfectly fine as long as you are well aware that that is a possibility. Have a good rest of your day. Do good things. Happy New Year. I tore my hamstring in the last 9 hours of 2020. Laying out full speed for a frisbee on some AstroTurf. Caught it. Been couch ridden for the last few days, but it is healing very nicely. I'm doing a good job of heat and ice and heat and ice. So I think I'll be on the mend in just a few weeks. It was worth it. Forgot to check in on the Trader Pro alert system. So we had a couple of the overextended. This was the super stack alerts on the longer term time frame. Certainly one of them being disregarded in such a big bull surge, but two of them leading to consolidation and temporary tops. And of course the hourly super stack oversold, nailed that bottom down there. Let's see how close ETH came. Super stack chart. Hourly. So hourly was not beat up enough to trigger as we were coming from a much stronger point. But a nice one on Bitcoin. And definitely something to be keeping an eye on. These oversold bounces, as long as we're in strong uptrends on longer term time frames. As we know, shorter term oversold flushes, we look to set higher lows on those longer term time frames.
On you.